Wake up to reality.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Reality Tonic. I am your host, Spencer. We have our world famous co-host, Robert. Robert, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. Rob, did you know that we have, I consider a very famous person, okay? I don't know why she's laughing, but she was the runner-up of the 2020 Boston Comedy Festival, and the winner of the 2020 Boston Comedy Festival, and the winner of the 2021 Burbank Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Welcome, Janelle Draper.
Hey, thanks
how
for
are you?
having me. Hi, guys.
How's things going?
I'd rather be introduced as your semi-formal date or whatever.
That's right. For all the viewers at home, listen, we're going to get a little deep for 1 second. I know Janelle very well. She was my date for the junior cotillion or something like that.
Yes.
It was like 8th grade, no?
Yeah.
Oh, it was? It was middle school?
Yeah, it was middle school. I remember I had my hair up in this like stupid bun, and like, Rob, you went with Mary Ellen.
I was.
Yes.
I was.
Mary Ellen was a rather small young lady, and Rob was a big boy at the time. So it was a very cute picture.
Very
Me and
chubby.
Janelle looked fly as always, and as we do now.
That was a good time.
So it was a great time. And then time passes by. Oh, I hit the microphone. Yeah. Time passes by. Don't hear from you for a little bit, right? I'm not really on social media. But next thing I know, I'm hearing about Janelle being a stand-up comedian.
It's not some grand accomplishment to get married. Literally right now, anyone can get married. Do you know who can get married? First cousins. And then my friend was like, well then, why aren't you married? After I cried a little, I was like, because my cousin said no.
So I see her at my high school reunion, and I go, hey, I heard you trying to be a stand-up comedian. And you know what she said, Rob?
What?
You want to know what she said? Janelle, do you know what you said? I think I already told you this, but do you know what you
told
said?
me at Emerald Rose, but I probably wouldn't have remembered.
But you should have, because this I'll never forget. You said, I'm not trying to be a stand-up comedian. I am a stand-up comedian. And I was like, damn, right? That's when I knew she was serious. So I'm checking her out online, creeping on her YouTube a little bit. She's doing her thing, right? Next thing I know, she's opening up for Jay Leno. You open up for Jay Leno, right?
Yeah.
All right. Can we please? So now that I gave you this little introduction thing here, right?
Yeah.
How does this whole thing start? You graduate high school, you go to college. Like, what's going on?
Oh, so I went to Stonehill College. Shout out to Catholic school.
Seriously.
Just a random school, but it's in Massachusetts. And then I started this LA internship program. I noticed that there was DC internship programs in New York, but there wasn't one in LA. So me and like 2-3 other students like kind of were hand selected by like our faculty advisor in communications, because we were a communications major. And we got to come out here a senior year of college and work full time for class credit. And so I worked at Focus Features, which is like a specialty art house film division of NBC Universal Pictures. And I was like on the lot. Then I learned about the NBC Page program, and then how you could work on Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Like, we're talking 2010, right? So it was like back when Jay Leno was running the show. And I ultimately just fell in love with like being in LA and being like on set and everything. So once I graduated college, like a month later, packed up my little Mitsubishi Eclipse convertible and shipped that bad boy from Boston to LA. And then I just kind of worked in different fields. So it was like, publicity. I worked for Gautier. Remember that one hit wonder guy, somebody I used to know?
Somebody that I used to know.
I did like his PR and like Lenny Kravitz and Mattis Yahoo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette, like random people. So I worked in like music publicity and celebrity publicity, and then got into the Page program. Just did all these different things. Like worked in a trailer house, like editing, post-production stuff. And then I didn't edit, but I was like an assistant, just doing all these different assistant jobs. And then my dad suggested I take a stand-up comedy class when I was out here. I think it was like literally 2012. And I was like, "That you're crazy." He's like, "Do it." So I did it, fell in love, hooked immediately. And it's just been like a love affair since, where like sometimes they're greater than others. The more I'm in it, the better it gets. But it's like, it's been a fucking journey.
Wow.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
the stand-up comedy class you said, right?
Yeah, I took a class. It was great.
So how does that work? You call them up and say, hey, I want to be a comedian, or what happens?
So I just Googled it, and what kept coming up had the most reviews, and it was shout out to Jerry Katzman, because he's been the most like supportive community building teacher out in LA, and he's actually from Fall River, Mass, but he moved out here a long time ago and had a different way of getting people to like really bare their soul, which was like to be super supportive, because as you know, comedy is like pretty cutthroat. But in his class, he taught everyone, like when they got off stage for the first time, everyone in the class had to say what they loved, what they did. And it couldn't be about their material. So it was like, I love the way he carries himself. I love the way he delivers. I love the way he has energy, this likability. And so you end up being in a really nurturing environment and you feel really supported. So I did that. Like I did several sessions of that until I felt like I could kind of like cut my own teeth. And then I moved to New York City, and that's where I really got into it. And then did like 8 years in New York City, which is kind of like college for comics. Like you got to put your time in New York.
So when we go on these bachelorette weekends, I'm being forced to keep up with their spending, right? So I show up to the airport for the weekend getaway, and I'm sizing up all the girls to see who can I hang with. I'm like, red bottom heels, too rich for my blood. Chanel purse, she only drinks top shelf liquor. Ooh, using a Trader Joe's bag as a carry-on? Hello, new best friend. Oh, just my reflection.
I'm like exhausting. I'm like exhausted listening to the shit I've done. I'm like, yet I still feel like there's so much room for me. I still like, I'm like turning a corner, but I still have so much to go. But I'm like, I'm heating up. I'm like, I'm getting to where I want to be, but it's like a fucking journey, man. It's like, you know what I mean?
And it
like,
never stops. It seems like
never
it
stops.
just keeps going and going in its experiences. And that's the thing at our high school reunion. When was that? Was that 2020? That was the 2012 one.
It had to have at least been 5 years ago. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a long time. And constantly going. So you do the stand-up comedy class. Well, first off, before even the stand-up comedy class, you're doing all these awesome things. I mean, you're living like you're in that scene, right? So you're doing a little bit of everything in the Hollywood scene, basically. What kind of money is that? Is that because for me, I'm sitting there going, that's the glitz, the glamour. Like she's in it. She's in the scene. She's rolling the dough.
There's like no money in the beginning. It's so funny. There's nothing. Like it's the first job I got offered, full-time permanent position to be a junior music publicist for this company in which we were like literally working out of Coquette Productions. So Courtney Cox and David Arquette's production office.
Wow.
So I'd see them all the time. I felt like it was an episode of Friends. Like Courtney Cox is literally Monica from Friends, like the temperament. So we're working out of their office, and I was working with the senior publicist, and we worked on big clients. Like I kind of name dropped a few already, like Lenny Kravitz, the Wombats, Alanis Morissette, random ass people, Go TMS, Yahoo. Anyways. So, but they offered me $25,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
And I got them up to 32K, and this was 2011. And then I left that job to go work for the head of music licensing and supervision for NBC Universal. So she's the woman in charge of doing all music supervision. So it was kind of badass. She literally had like Steven Tyler walk in her office playing a ukulele, trying to get a placement on the Olympics promo. Like, because these people would come into our office and wine and dine our department so that they could get placed in these like really heavy hitting hit shows like The Office, Parks and Rec, you name it, like the Mindy Project, and then also like ads like the Olympics and things like that. And so went over to that. And I think that was around like 45, 50K. Huh. Oh, no. So I went from like 32K to like 35K. But the big jump was going from LA to New York. I got a job in comedy development, working at IFC TV, which is the home of like Portlandia, Documentary Now, Comedy Bang Bang, Marin. And so I did a big jump from like 35 to 55K. And then from there moved up to like much better, like, you know, to much better standings. Cause I've been with the company now for like 8 years. So I'm able to like really keep growing. So
you're still there now?
Yeah, I'm still at AMC Networks.
Wow.
Yeah, but so so the funny thing is there's not a lot of money in the beginning, especially the assistant level, but then the VPs, SVPs, EVPs, presidents of the network, tons of money, like stupid amounts of money. It's like, if I knew early on, I'm like, I didn't want to go for money. I'm going to go for what I love and just hope and pray that the money will just be there. And it luckily was for me because I stayed tried and true. I kept going and kept growing with the company. And then I saw, like, if you stuck with it, there's a ton of money at the end. Like, you didn't need to graduate, you just need to start working, literally prove yourself. And I saw the amount of money these executives are making and they come in, come out. Like, I was like, damn, that's the life I want. Like these 6+ insane. Yeah. I was like, there's so much money in TV, but it's all at the top. So you just have to get through the like assistant route, like the shitty grabbing everyone coffee, like just to pay your dues essentially. And then you get taken care of. I think, like, I lucked out. I feel like
that's your full-time gig. And then you get the comedy thing. Now, since we're just already on the topic, I'm not going to try to dig into your pockets too much here, but let's just say you gave up the fancy gig you got right now and you went full bowl comedy. With where you're at right now, do you think it's possible to live like in New York and like when I see these comedians, is it safe to say all of them have a full-time job, or is there somebody that I haven't really heard of too much, but like big on the circuit that can really, have a yearly salary and sustain their income just being comedians?
I think it depends on your cost of living and like what you want. Like, I got used to a nice stable paycheck that I kept seeing grow. So I was like, oh, I love to take Ubers to order out. And I wanted to get my hair done. I wanted to buy nice clothes. So I always kept a nice paycheck. But I had friends, of course, that are like, I'm fine and happy being a barista, being a dog walker, being an Uber Eats delivery driver. So it's not necessarily like, can you make it? Like, you could make it just off that. But actually most comics, unless you're like really at a super great level, they have multiple streams of revenue. They can't just rely on their stand-up money. Most of them have side hustles. There's probably like a list of maybe 200 people, I'd say, in the country that I think are making, like, just from touring alone, I'd say like six figures to seven figures. I think there's only like a handful of comics that are really making that kind of money. And, a lot of them are well-known or household names. And, COVID fucked up a lot of people because you see that like a lot of clubs shut down and it kind of put things in perspective. A lot of things happening virtually. Clubs could come back and say, we're not going to pay comics for a little while until we get on our feet. So it's like, you end up doing all this free work. So it's really not a reliable source of income if that's all you're doing. And if you want to have like some sort of semblance of like a savings account or like a real life you can build. And if you want to live in one of those most expensive cities like New York or LA, I don't have like one comedian friend who's only doing comedy unless they're like a trust fund kids. And there, trust me, you get annoyed, but there are those people in this business where you're like, what the hell?
Really?
Oh yeah. Cause like they have all this time on their hands. They just like own a place and then just cause with stand-up, you need to have a lot of time to get good. Yeah. So if you are just getting like, if you have tons of money that you don't have to work for and you are creative and you like have the itch, you can put a ton of time and reps in without worrying about juggling a full-time day job. And so you have this advantage. And there definitely are a select handful of people doing that in New York and LA for sure.
Now, let's say if you could snap your fingers tomorrow and you're getting offered the exact same thing to be a comedian versus, full-time versus your full-time job right now, which one would you choose?
Oh, hands down comic. It's not even a question. Yeah.
So because you're really in it. And you mentioned something. People are going to your place and they're pitching like celebrities are going in there and pitching their ideas. So it's always this hustle. Even with the comics that are making a lot of money, what I've noticed is they are all hustling. They're going to work their acts, right? So like you hear about Dave Chappelle going into the Comedy Store or whatever. Like these guys. Is it possible for me to just show up at the Comedy Cellar or whatever, one of these places at, 1 a.m. and that like Joe Rogan might walk in or like a very famous comedian is coming there just to work their act?
Totally. All the time it happens. I believe Joe's now in like Austin, but sometimes even if you sign up to the distro list of these clubs, they'll say like special guest tonight, or sometimes you can even almost figure it out if like say, like Chris Rock was doing the Wilbur last weekend. So I don't know, maybe he dropped in. I feel like I would have found out, but like if a big act is coming through a town, it's safe to say they might hit up the smaller clubs as well to maybe also work on their stuff if they're doing like a tour at like, or maybe not, but like, yeah, definitely very common if you're at one of the main cities, New York or LA, at a major club, lots of great drop-ins. And that's just like their night's work, just come in, do 10, 20 new stuff, whatever, collect their check and fucking leave. Or some of these clubs in LA though, they weren't even necessarily, or they're paying like Sarah Silverman like $200 or not even like little money for what you think these people would cost.
Yeah.
But they just don't care. Like a lot of comics, even at the level like a Sarah Silverman and Amy Schumer, Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, they just still want the reps. Even if they're not gonna get the money, they still need to like go to the sweaty gym and work out and try new stuff and see what works. So that's what I love about stand-up. It's like the truest art form, because even if you get really big, you still need to go put the reps in, and you still get anxious if you haven't been on stage in a while, and you can't necessarily get a free pass because you're a celeb. You will for a few minutes, and they're like, okay, where's the joke spotty? I paid for this fucking ticket,
Don't they? I've also heard, because I listen to some podcasts and stuff. Familiar, not too much in the scene, but know a little bit.
Yeah,
they come in, they can bump people, right? Can't they come in and be like, I'm so and so, I'm a pretty good comedian, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm going on, and I want to go on at 7, right? That happens. Yeah,
I mean, if someone like Chris Rock or one of these heavy hitters stops by, you're for sure getting bumped. The whole lineup's going to be like fucked up, But it's like great. You get to see, the comics won't even care they're like, I just was on stage with so and so. I mean, that happened to me early on in LA. I shared the stage with Sarah Silverman a few times and Louis C.K. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just so happy that you like popped on here. I don't care that I'm going in a few. Like, I just can't believe I get to get up there after you.
Do they hang out?
You know what? I'm just moving back here now. I haven't lived here in 10 years. So I will keep you posted. I don't know that the hang is as it used to be, because with COVID, like a lot of like, sadly, like some nights shut down at certain clubs, or they like shut down. Like the Comedy Store has this cool bar that goes all around outside bar, the club. And there's like other bars in the club. But I think what I've heard, and when I drive by, it's not like popping like it used to. Like pre-COVID, it always be packed and bumping. And I think everything shifted with like people get in, get out. Okay, there's some hanging, but like I don't necessarily think Sarah Silverman's going to hang around much. Like it depends on maybe what she has in her schedule, or like what she's feeling. If she bumps into a friend, I'm sure she'll stay and have a drink. Like they're super approachable. You can go up and say, hey. It's not like they're not approachable. It's just that I don't necessarily know how much they want to always hang.
Would it affect your, like, when you're on stage, if you're doing your thing and then you look through the crowd and you're like, holy shit, Dave Chappelle's sitting, like right there, would that mess with you? Or is it like you're hoping for that to happen?
That's a great question, Rob. I think the old me would fuck with me. And now the new confident me, and this like past couple of years, I've really shifted, and I don't get as like, I kind of stay pretty stable now. Whether I seem it or not, like before I get on stage, I'm like pretty chill. So I think I'd be pumped. I'd be like, great, he's here, pull out all the A bits. Like, that's like what you want. You want someone like that to see you, and you want to do really well. So they say, hey, come on the road with me. Or that just happened to a friend of mine at Flappers. Actually, she was just in town from New York. Jocelyn Shia is her name. She's hilarious. She's a stellar comic. And she did a show at Flappers, and Sean Wayans, you know him, like the Wayans brothers?
The Wayans brothers, yeah.
He watched her set, thought she was hilarious, and asked her to open for him on the road. So just like that, like one set can, I don't want to say change your life, but one set can really course correct where your career is going. And it can really like, it can jumpstart you when you get in front of the right people.
Last dude I went out with, I met him in a loud nightclub, and I fell for him because I thought he liked cooking. Turns out he said cocaine.
So sometimes famous acts come to Boston or New York or whatever, and then they'll just grab somebody, right? Or they'll offer, how does somebody like you get on that stage? Because you're going to be at the Wilbur, right? Or something like that?
Oh, yeah, I was last weekend.
You were at the Wilbur.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Oh, thanks. That was super fun. I mean, it was amazing. It was
Who were you at the Wilbur with?
Shows. I was opening for Hannah Berner and Paige DeSorbo. They are They're like reality stars from Bravo. Summer House is a TV show.
And you said it was a sold out show?
2 sold out shows on a Saturday.
Sold out shows.
Wow.
What is that like? Stop for a second. Let's just
That's
stop.
cool.
Let's just calm down for a second. We go from comedy school, right? We're doing our thing. We're having fun, working full time, going out, doing all of these stand-up gigs, and you're still doing it, right? You're in Billerica one night, Billerica, Massachusetts, and the next thing you know, you're in LA. You're all over the place.
Atlanta, I did a bunch of little cities recently.
So like you're doing all of that, and now we're meeting celebrities. We're in the scene now, and then you open up at the Wilbur Theater, right?
Yeah.
What is that like?
It honestly felt like a surreal moment, Spencer. It felt like, oh, I'm exactly where I need to be and I'm deserving of this. And I want this to be one of many times. And, it felt so extra special because I knew Chris Rock would be there like 4 days later. And I knew it was in my hometown. I knew that I'd have so much exposure with so many great audience members. And I was just like, cool, this is a trajectory I want to be on. And Taylor Tomlinson, who I look up to, is a great comic based in LA, but she had just did her Netflix special and she filmed at the Wilbur. So that was really special because she's from San Diego, been out here in LA. She's got like a couple of Netflix specials. She's killing it. And she decided to film at the Wilbur. So it was just extra special to have those connections and to feel like I'm sharing the stage that so many legends have been on. And this is like the start of many. And it kind of like revalidated all the tough times I've had and like gave me that spark to keep going and just like, okay, what else can I accomplish? What's next in the bucket list? So it's kind of like, and now I have more confidence too, to open up for more people in that theater. Cause now that I've done it once, it's like, okay, who else is coming through? And a lot of people are coming through. It's like, I'll throw my hat in the ring because I've already done it.
And so how do you do that?
Oh, so it's just like all networking essentially. Like it's this business is all about relationships. So it's reaching out, it's emailing, DMing, messaging, word of mouth through friends. Like, hey, I know you're friends with so-and-so. How do you connect me? Here's my set from the Wilbur. I'd love to open for her when she's in town. Like, it'd be an honor. Every big headliner has a long list of openers or a short list, depending on what they prefer. So you just booking on that list doesn't mean you'll get booked, but being on that list is like where you want to be. Yeah. So like, I'd love to be on Amy Schumer's list, on Nikki Glazer's list. Like, these are all comics I dream to open for. And you bet your bottom ass I'm going to try. Like, yeah,
for sure.
And that's the point of where I'm at with my life in my career. I'm like, fuck it. I have nothing to lose, all to gain by just asking and putting myself in like, so, and it's kind of like a nice reminder that like, we're all just going to die one day. And so like, why would I live in fear? Like, just ask, just like put yourself out there.
Was that a barrier for you before when you first started doing this?
I mean, I would say like, not specifically, I'd be afraid to ask people. I would say like, generally I'd feel like, oh, I'm too nervous or what if I bomb but now I don't even have those thoughts. Now I've totally trained my mind and I've gotten enough reps and I have enough confidence in my new material that I'm like, I'm not gonna bomb. Like, I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen. Like, I just don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. And even if I were not to do well, I wouldn't care. Cause I'm like, oh, what's the next thing? Cause I just have a better perspective about it. I know I'm never going to stop till I have my own Netflix special. So it's like, I can either make it harder journey for myself or a more enjoyable one. It's like, why beat myself up along the process? Like, just assume it's all going to go great, even if it might not, but just assume, because if I assume, better chances it will go better than if I don't assume.
I feel like married people don't remember what it's like to be single. Like, I had a friend and she was like, Janelle, what's taking you so long? Like, I met Ben when I was 26 and he was Mr. Right. I was like, he was Mr. Right next to you at work. You're lazy, Sheila.
It sounds like you have a very positive vibe around, you have a positive peer group, right? It's something your family's pretty supportive of this.
Yeah.
Was there ever, because I mean, your dad's the one that recommended you to go to comedy school.
Totally.
Was there ever were you ever embarrassed to say like, oh, I'm doing this? Were you ever wondering what people were thinking? Like, does everybody in your family know? Are holidays weird when they're like, hey, how was stand-up? Or were you comfortable with that? And are you comfortable with that now?
No, for sure. There's been so many embarrassing moments in my life of why did I do that anal joke with my grandparents in the front row? Why did I do a masturbation joke? Like, I didn't even plan to say this. It just comes out. And I'm like, I get in my head, I feel shame. I'm like, it's like, oh, I know I'm better than that, but why'd I resort to that? And then I also say, you know what? Who the fuck cares? Like, I'm like, they've heard it all and they still love me and they're going to still love me. But I've definitely had moments of like doubting myself, doubting my message, doubting what I'm doing. But I just give myself lately like compassion and grace. And I go, hey, I just decided I'm going to be a little bit filthy. And whether you're in it or not, that's my vibe. But there's been a lot of push and pull with my parents, and they're generally super like supportive now, but there's been times where they weren't, or they were disappointed. And like, I've been disappointed in my own self, or like, yeah, I've gone to certain family parties and like used to be like, I'm a comic. Like sometimes I do stand up and my sister would be like, you're a comic, own it. And like, I've worked a lot on owning it. So maybe the time when I said to you, I'm a comic, is like, it's half of it is truly just owning it and having that perception of like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like the more you don't give a fuck, the funnier and better you'll be. So the quicker you can not give a fuck. It's taken me years to not give a fuck and trying so hard. And I generally give so many fucks about so many things. Mm-hmm. And people think comics are just like, whatever, you got thick skin. Comics are like the most sensitive, emotional, insecure people, but we put on this like persona, or we put on this vibe. And like, truthfully, we're not these people that just don't care. We care a lot, but we're willing to put that aside and sacrifice caring to see if there's like a greater good to be of entertaining, or to be of like cathartic, of like I like to tell jokes about shit that like people might say that's not ladylike or that's too dark, but I'm like, okay, but how many people are going through what I went through and might feel like soulless hearing that I went through it too? Or like, how many people feel trapped in a box, not knowing that they can be other things? So I like do try to be like a little like subversive or like irreverent, because I think like I hate being told like I can't tell a blowjob joke, or I hate being told I like have to be ladylike. I'm just like, don't fucking tell me. Like I will be a little defiant. So I think sometimes I push myself to be like extra edgy or things, but also though it just kind of comes naturally to me. But that definitely has caused like friction with certain members of my family or things. But ultimately they see my dedication, they see how hard I work, and they see that I'm never stopping. They're just like, well, we got to accept it. It is what it is. Like at this point, they're like, she's professional about it. And this is just it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Nikki Glaser has an entire Netflix special about giving blowjobs. Her dad's in the front row. Why can't I have a couple blowjob jokes and like upset?
So what's when you write jokes, it's not something, I mean, yeah, you can come up and think of stuff in your head real quick, right? But this is an art form, right? We practice it, we do that. So this is a joke. I mean, you probably wrote down, you practice it in your head, then you say it, and the next thing you know, your family's pissed off at you? Or were you like in your head going, oh, this is gonna piss them off? Or was it a huge surprise?
Truly, I try not to think about them at all. And the best kind of comic writes like no one in their family is even alive. Like the best comics are just like, this is for me. If they hear it and they're offended, that's their business. But the only way it can be my most authentic, best self is by not caring or not thinking that they're gonna even hear it. And then sometimes if you do offend someone, you have to like do damage control. But yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of like divorce jokes, and my parents didn't always love those. I had this joke about when I was 3, I walked into my dad in the shower. I have jokes about like, his penis, and like he didn't love that, but like it always gets a laugh. So you know what? The audience is the judge.
My mom, 50% Italian. My dad, 50% Irish, which makes them 100% divorced.
Do you give them a warning? Do you say, hey, I'm going to tell you this joke. I'm going to say this joke tonight, and it's really going to piss you off?
I started to do warnings. I started to tell my mom and my dad, like, hey, I'm doing a dirty set tonight. Don't expect anything clean. Please don't come if it's going to offend you. And please do not tell me any notes after. Like, I'm not open to feedback. Like, you can come if you want to come. No feedback, no notes. Just sit and be quiet and smile and don't sit in the front. So yeah, I definitely coach them now to be like, because I started getting to the point where I said, hey, if this upsets you, don't come. Oh, no, we want to come. Okay, then don't tell me anything after, because this is what I've been practicing and studying and learning for the past 10 years. No offense, you haven't. So It's like, it's like that Brene Brown quote of like, if you're not in the arena with like blood and sweat and dirt on your face, I don't want to hear your feedback from the fucking peanut gallery. Don't tell me what I should be saying or doing if you're not in the fucking arena.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
It's like, I will listen to advice from someone I respect that like gets the craft that's in the craft. Not to say I won't listen to advice from friends, but I think as like a nice rule of thumb, like if people are going to just randomly give like a comic unsolicited feedback, they should say, hey, I have a few ideas or tags or notes for you. Are you open to hearing them? Versus just being like, here's this thing you should do or change that. It's like, no one realizes how much work goes into every single little thing. And they just kind of diminish the art of it or the study or practice of it by just being like, do this. It's like, I don't go tell you how to do your fucking taxes, Mr. Accountant, or I don't tell you how to paint or like how to cook if someone's a chef. So it's like so funny how people, and even Julie, like one of my best friends, Julie Evans, at that one of my shows, she's like, you did all these like dark jokes about your ex and you, and almost too much darkness about, you know, the emotional abuse part. And I was like, okay. And meanwhile, I'm like, I didn't ask her for opinion, but okay. And because you feel really vulnerable and exposed when you get off stage. Even
Yeah, geez, Julie, get the hell out of here.
Oh,
no, but then
Come
the
on,
next,
Julie.
no, but it was
Shout
so
out to Julie.
It was so sweet. I know. It was so sweet because then the next day, though, she apologized and was like, you know what, Jay, I totally forgot that like everyone takes comedy different. Everyone receives comedy differently. And my coworker who came to the show said that she felt it was meant to be being in the audience of your set because she also broke up with a narcissist and was so healed and felt your material was so resonating with her.
Wow.
And she's like, I'm sorry I said anything. And I'm like, see, and I'm like, that's like so funny. It's so subjective, but sometimes people think there's like one way to do it. And it's also painful working on new stuff because you have to do it in front of people. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent, so I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. It's exciting to like, it's cool you guys care this much about it.
Yeah.
I love this stuff.
I think this is so interesting. So I was curious, just like being a comedian, right? Statistically, you have to bomb occasionally, right? You have to throw something out there. You're like, this is fucking hilarious at home. You get there, it's like crickets. So I'm just so curious, like, what does that feel like? I don't want to bring up any like bad feelings. No. But like, I just can't imagine being in that situation. Like they say, like public speaking, like some people would rather die than speak in public. So to try to be funny in public and it not go well, like, what is that like?
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, Rob, you were being so generous and kind by saying occasionally, like in order to make it in this industry, that's the first thing you have to get used to right away, to be comfortable fucking eating shit, bombing. All you do is bomb for the first couple, you just bomb. I mean, you just bomb for a long ass time until you just don't. And then sometimes you still do bomb in front of different people, different vibes. Like, of course you bomb all the time. You just get desensitized to it, or you just go, you kind of go, is that on me or is that on them? And you look to see how the other comics are doing. You look to see, like, are they tight? Did they get warmed up by the hose? Is this like, are the lights too bright? Is this like a 6 p.m. show and no one's drinking? There's so many factors at play. It feels awful at first. You're like, why am I doing this to myself? I'm so fucked up. Yeah. But I guess it's like truly such a drug, because when you do well, and then of course you do end up doing better and better the longer you stay in it, that outweighs all the nights of bombing. So you end up going, fuck it, I can put up with some scrapes and bruises to have these great nights of like riding that wave.
Yeah,
but it's such
chasing that high, you know, like.
But the lights. I'm so annoyed by the lighting in here.
She's great. She's great.
I'm so Hollywood. I'm like, what's happening?
No, I like
lighting.
This.
You moved a frame and changed the
lighting. I know. I just like, I'm a marketer and producer in mind, and I'm like, this is fucking me. And I feel better, not so like washed out.
It's make you feel good. Do what you got to do.
So when let's say you bomb, it's horrible. What happens? Do you walk off the stage? When? Do you walk off the stage and just give the next comment? You'll just give a head nod or something, or like, is there any acknowledgement that like
tough crowd? Jesus.
Yeah, I think the more composed and cool you can be, and just brush it off and know that that's just one set of your life, and there's going to be a million more. I mean, I got this great piece of advice. I think it was from Ian Bagg. He's a great comic in LA. He's so amazingly known for like his crowd work and things, and check him out. He's really funny. And he said to me one time, he said, the second a set's over, erase it from your mind. Next, always looking for what's next. Like, don't even waste a millisecond going, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Unless you want to go back and study your set if you filmed it or audio recorded it which I always do, I always audio record. Most comics will try to do that to learn, but if you're going into it to beat yourself up, it's just a losing battle.
Totally.
And I feel like it really messes with your mind because sometimes, I mean, you're practicing the same routine. You don't just, again, this takes time to create, a 15 minute, 20 minute, half hour kind of show. So you're trying the same old stuff. You're doing the same routine, just in different places. And sometimes it's like an amazing, everybody starts dying laughing. And then other times it's just silence, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, it's sometimes so mind boggling why a joke will work in one room and it won't in the other. And that's why it's helpful to record though, because sometimes you don't even know, you might deliver a line with like a wink or like a little smirk and smile. And other times you might do it straight or deadpan. And you'd be so shocked to see like the small nuance of the formula of like the words you say, the cadence, the delivery, the facial reactions, like all that plays into like how big a laugh you'll get.
Okay.
So you just fine tune those jokes, like kind of.
Yeah, just tweak. It's kind of like, almost like a mathematical equation sort of, and also sort of like a sport, if you will. Like if you were to watch, like an athlete were to watch themselves, oh, I dribbled it that way, then I did that. It's like you might have grabbed, like I have a joke that always crushes, but I did a festival where it didn't really hit like it usually does. And I watched the set with my manager and he was like, well, see how you were putting the mic away in the middle of that joke. So it's like as simple as like doing the joke that I end on while like preparing to like leave the stage, like threw off the like cadence of how I normally just stand there and deliver it. And so something as silly as that, it could be kind of maddening sometimes, but I think you have to just constantly look forward.
And that's something Rob will never understand because he's not a comedian like myself.
I can't do it. But
Janelle.
It's fun though. I've told a joke, or I've made like 5 people laugh at once. So I can't imagine what it's like. And that feels good to me.
I know.
I was gonna say you guys are always the funny people in school. Like I always wanted to make you guys laugh. Like I feel like you guys were the class clowns. And so I think everyone is, everyone's funny in their own way. It's just like who works on it as a living, who pushes it. Like I wish everyone tried stand-up at least once, because I know you guys would be killer comics, but it's not necessarily about talent or naturally comedic ability. It's like, do you have grit? Do you have perseverance? Do you have confidence? Do you have thick skin?
Which I have all of those things. And Rob, as you know, he has virtually nothing.
Yeah.
Janelle, where'd you go?
Better. Oh my God, I got a better lighting situation.
Wow.
Rob, can we edit this in post?
I think we keep all these moments in.
I want to edit this in post. No, I just like saying that.
We're going to edit it.
Oh, much better.
We're
Softer.
Great lighting.
Oh, so much better.
So I have a question. So you've cut your teeth, right? You've worked in New York. You've done a lot on the West Coast. Now, like, do you feel like I just picture like New York people like being like, get the fuck out of here, like where everyone on the West Coast is just eating their avocado toast or whatever the fuck. So like, do you feel like you have a preference or are there things you like, West Coast, East Coast,
Yeah.
Definitely a difference, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. You're right. Because comics in New York are typically like be called the comics. So like they are in it to win it as a comedian, as a stand-up. And they are really sharp, really quick. And not to say LA comedians aren't, but in LA, you'll have a lot of actors and actresses that were like encouraged by their agents or managers to go try stand-up. And so they're not necessarily the same tight, like comic. They're more like experiential or like storytelling. And like, yeah, I think in LA, the audiences are a little bit more like, okay, we'll sit back and be patient and go on this story with you, go on this tangent. Whereas New York is like, let's fucking go. Like, yeah, like there's definitely a more urgency and there's definitely like harder crowds. But that's why I like having done both scenes to see, because I think LA has its own benefits where if you want to try to like translate your stand-up act to like trying to get book comedic roles on TV or film, this is a good place to be. Yeah. But for sure, there's like more intense audience members and I think less patience in New York to stick around for like punchlines. So kind of like, let's fucking go. Where's the funny? In LA, oh, more relaxed, more hippy dippy. So you will get more of the comic in New York that's more intense and hardcore. Also, if they're in New York, they're trying to get like mostly like on SNL or like on late night or like in a writer's room. But if you're in LA, you might just do stand-up because, like I said, someone on your team recommended you try it just to be more well-rounded for different auditions. It doesn't mean that like your dream is to be a comedian.
I'm newly single, right? But none of my friends can hang. They're all settled down and wifed up. My friend Sarah's like, Janelle, I can't go out. I have to breastfeed my baby. My husband's in a mood. I'm like, just come out. I'll suck your tit and fuck your husband.
Can I get spicy for a second?
Please.
Can I get spicy?
I live in the spice.
You see that young lady right there?
Who's that? Your
That's
wife?
Davian. No, my oh.
Who's Damien? Damien who?
Davian who? Huh. Listen.
Episode 8.
Episode 8.
Tonic.
Episode 8 of Reality Tonic.
Okay, let me look this up.
So wait, let me get spicy for a second. So I'm talking about Davian. Okay, she told me in the wrestling circuit. Okay, it's kind of like the Olympics, or at least she confirmed it when I asked her. It's kind of like the Olympics where everybody's hooking up with each other, right? Wrestler is doing it now in the comedian world, right? Is there like everybody kind of doing their thing, or what's happening?
I don't know. I'm thinking, I mean, I personally don't really hook up with like any comics really, like, because I sort of learned early on, like, don't shit where you eat. And so as much as it's tempting to hook up with someone that gets your lifestyle and has the same schedule as you and you're hanging out with all the time, it's like tricky because if it does go south, it's like you're stuck with like your coworker, like at shows. And like I dated a comic in New York for like almost 4 years. He was lovely. But when we broke up, it was kind of tricky because, you know, I didn't want to go to the same shows as him and we didn't want to intersect to different mics and stuff. So he's like the only comic I really ever dated and hooked up with. And I didn't really do anything with anyone else. But yeah, there definitely are people in the industry that really only date comedians or who only date outside. Sometimes you find people that are like, I can only date someone that gets my lifestyle. Or they're like, fuck it, I want to date anyone that's not a comic. Because sometimes there's that saying of like, just have one headshot per family. Like you don't want to have someone competing with either. Because like sometimes that happens as well, where like, I feel like a little bit of that with me and my ex, where I'd be like, oh, you got on that show? Why didn't I get on that show? Or like, you know, it was, you know, it's hard to not feel like, you know, like a little sibling rivalry sort of, but like in the dating world of like, well, why did you get that, but I didn't? So sometimes I think it's nice to date someone that like isn't in the industry and that just like wants to support you. But yeah. This
is a 2-part question. So the first part, is there peer pressure or is there pressure even not even amongst your peers, just like with anybody that you need to be funny the second they find out you're a comedian? Oh, this is Janelle. She does this, she does that. She's also a stand-up comedian. Right away, are they like, hey, make me laugh? Do they have that kind of attitude? Or what's your experience with that?
It's just, it's truly exhausting. if I had like $1 every time someone told me that, I'd have like $1 million. You know, it's just, I think I used to get more upset about it in the beginning. I kind of shrug it off now. Like, well, you know, I'm not always working. I'm not always on, like, or I'll retort, like, are you paying me? Like, can you pay me for this job? You know, I like set a rate for myself where I help people write, or I do write like custom sets for people. Like I'm going to put money on my time. And even though it sounds like a frivolous thing to get paid for, like I've had guys in dating apps be like, really, you're just going to say, hey, where's like that funny one-liner? And I'm like, you think I have the time or the interest to write custom one-liners to doofuses I haven't met on an app? Like you're out of your fucking mind. I'm working 2 full-time jobs. I'm trying to fuck. I'm trying to find love. I'm not trying to make you laugh. Like,
yeah, dating as a female comic can be hard because guys will be like, I'm afraid you're going to put me in your act. Really? I'm afraid you're going to put me in your trunk.
They just think that and then a lot of them I'll either unmatch or I'll go through and explain why it's like offensive. And they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't think about it from that perspective. And like, some guys are cool. Will say like, every guy says one of 2 things. They'll either say, tell me something funny or roast me. Or they'll say, they want to be roasted. Or they'll say, and like the best roasting is to just like unmatch them. All right, you'll be roasted. Bye. Like, you never.
Hey, you're awesome. Hot. Roast me. Right.
But also sometimes it feels nice to like, if I'm generous or if I feel like they have more to them, like more sustenance or substance than like what I think they have, I'll be like, yo, not a cool look or not a cool thing to say to someone. Here's why. And they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Thank you for not unmatching me. Or the guys will say like, how many guys ask you to tell them a joke right away? Like every guy asked me that. I'm like, oh, like 99% of guys immediately ask me to tell them a joke. Or like they'll say, I bet you can't make me laugh or make me laugh. Or like, it's like,
It's cute.
I just don't. Or they'll be like, are you on here? They'll be like, are you on here to get material? I'm like, no, I don't need your fucking help. Like, I feel like sometimes the male ego is so easily bruised that they think they're going to give me the best bit of their life or that it's going to change my career. Or they think it's like the only industry where people think they're an expert at what you do. And no one's fucking ever tried it really in the sense that you do as a professional. And guys get real fucking high horse, but I bet I could do. Okay, yeah, sure you could, but have you? No. Talk to me when you do. Fucking pussy. Like I just.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Sorry, I get off on it. Clearly, it's like.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. We put the gloves on here, folks.
What about I have another one. Hecklers, right? That's a thing. And fuck them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
when's the last time that happened?
What is like the worst heckling experience?
I don't even remember because I don't hold on to it. I think I've definitely had bad ones. I feel like you kind of, honestly, I bet you most comics can't remember. You like repress it or block it out and you just move, truck forward, truck on. The best way to shut down a heckler is to like, is to say something like if they're like boo or get off. I mean, no one even has ever said that to me, but if they're just giving you shit, they yell at something that doesn't sound complimentary and you can be like, oh, hey dad, didn't know you were here. Or like,
just like roll it into a joke.
I did get this woman back kind of good at Portsmouth. Like,
yeah.
But I don't
Portsmouth
really,
out of everywhere in the world, right?
She was like wasted, and I was kind of like, I think I just turned it on her, being like, "You need a lot of attention," or like, put your mouth to work and go give your boyfriend a blowjob in the bathroom and let the show go on, like, or like just gave her like shit for having her mouth like,
yeah,
and I was like, oh, that really wasn't cool of me, but she also like ruined the show.
What's your biggest pet peeve with like what pisses off comedians? So I went to a comedy show the other day. I saw Tom Segura, right? The signs everywhere. He was amazing, awesome. And they're walking with these little signs that say, please no cell phones, please no cell phones, right? And they're on the seats. It's like, it's right on the ticket. What pisses you guys off at comedy shows? Could it be cell phones, talking, all that, or what is it?
Talking definitely is tough. If there's an audience that is there but not like attuned or not engaged listening, it's frustrating because it's like, well, why did you come out if you're not going to pay attention? And don't you realize this is like a two-way street? The more energy you give me and the more respect and like attention you give me, the better I can perform for you. It's kind of like a dance. So a lot of audience members don't fully get that. It's kind of, but they'll get drunk. They'll come out with every intent to be a great audience member, and then they'll probably get drunk or catch up with a friend or whatever. And I think a lot of comics get pissed off when they feel like the audience is sitting there, but they're not into it. It's like, well, then why did you come out? I'm not a TV show. Like, I'm a real live person up here. You have to give me something. That's definitely annoying. Another thing that's annoying is like, having your phones. I had people just middle of my set just start filming me. And to be honest, I don't even say anything because I'm like, whatever. But every once in a while, I guess I'll be like, why are you filming this? Or, what do they even do with it? Do they send it to a friend? It's just bizarre. They'll just capture you as if you can't see them. It's like throws you off a little. So I think that like feels a little invasive because sometimes if they go and upload it or post it, you're like, I don't want people see, because audience members don't get, there's a premise and there's a punchline. If they had a good time laughing at your punchline, they'll be like, oh, I got to show this to my friend or post it on my story. They capture you when you're doing the setup to the next bit. And if we don't hear the laugh and you post it, it's like, well, I don't look like I'm doing my job because you don't know how to capture me killing.
Right. So this is your brand.
And that's also a weird thing. And also you don't want to burn through your material. You don't want to put all of your great material on social for people to like come out and see you, and you'll do the same stuff.
I thought when I turned 30, I'd wake up with this newfound sense of confidence and purpose. But what happened is my belly button ring just popped out. So I was like, all right, more room for body shots. If you want a fuzzy navel with a lint rim, over here.
How long does it take you to, like, what's your could you do a Netflix special tomorrow with the amount of material that you have prepared?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would love the whole thing. Like, it depends on how much. If I just filmed it tomorrow, I guess I don't know if it would be like my best version because I'd want to prepare for it.
That's like the pinnacle, right? For a stand-up comedian is like
for me it is
a Netflix special. That's what I feel like. It's just that's like maybe it used to be like, okay, if you're on HBO or something or on
Netflix is where it's at.
David Letterman and Jay Leno, but now it's like, yo, you get a Netflix special, like you've arrived. I feel like it's kind of the vibe.
Totally. I think so. But I also think so many comics have their own like expectation of like them breaking or like what they want as their pie in the sky dream. So like some might not care about a special as much as they care about like having their own TV show. So I definitely like strive for those things. So I know it's just a matter of time. It's just like if I were to put together like an hour that I was super proud of that would go on Netflix, I wouldn't say I could confidently film it tomorrow.
But how long does it take to have that much material? And when do you know to get rid of it and move on to the next round of bits?
Yeah.
What's the timeline?
So there's no like set timeline. It kind of just varies person to person and like what they're trying to accomplish. Like, I think when you get really sick of saying a certain joke and it no longer brings you joy and you can no longer like spin it a different way and find a fresh perspective on the same premise, time to like retire it. Mm-hmm. But you don't also want to give like any one room too much authority. So if a bit you come up with doesn't hit in one room, don't just get rid of it. If you're really excited about it, try it. Maybe half a dozen more shows and see how it does. Run it by a friend, see if they have an idea for you, kind of figure out why is it not working. So I think there's like no set timeline. It's just kind of like figuring out, what's important for you and like how comfortable are you at what you want to talk about. And
so when I'm a big, let's say I see you, I see you at Broadway Comedy because that's where I've been before, right? What's it called? Broadway
Comedy Club. Yeah.
Broadway Comedy Club. I see you on a Friday night. I'm like, she's killing it. I want to see her again. Right. And then I go back to Massachusetts and then I look, I'm like, holy shit, she's coming to Billerica. Right.
Yeah.
Do I hear the same jokes? Like if I go see Tom Segura last Saturday, if I go see him again on his same tour, chances are it's the same exact jokes, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He'll probably tweak the opening to like, depending on the market he's in, if he's in Texas, maybe like a Texas joke, like definitely they pepper in original riffs and things that might have happened to them that day or on tour, things that remind them of, oh, I had this great riff about Florida. I'll do this here, but I won't do it in Maine. So it's like, you for sure aren't going to have the exact same set, but a lot of the bones of the set, like the structure is going to be the same. Like, cause that's another thing people don't get is they'll be like, oh, it's going to be a brand new set of 10. It's like, right. Well, probably not because you know how hard it is to, and it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're trying to get a really good tape, and you have like a deadline, like I need to submit to this festival or to this competition or something, you just care about getting a great set. So you probably will run the same 10-minute set from Broadway to Billerica to so-and-so if you have like a month or less to get a set, because getting a good set is so hard. You have to have the equipment. It can't die. It can't run out of space. You have to have the audience laughter. You can't be heckled. You have to have good lighting, good audio. It's like a million things have to go right. And so you might just not give a fuck about repeat jokes as much as you give a fuck about advancing your career to get to that open door by having that set. Right. But if you're like, I've got a great set, I've gone to this festival laugh house, I'm trying new shit, you might have two completely different sets from Billerica to New York. It matters. There's no set rhyme or reason for any one comic. It matters like, what are your goals? What's on your itinerary? What are you trying to accomplish? How comfortable are you? Yeah. I mean, it's funny. The set you saw me at, I was the least comfortable in. I had a good time and I loved seeing you guys there. But when I do shows where like everyone I know, I don't feel as free to really let loose and get to my best version of like my loose riffing self.
You weren't letting loose there?
I mean, I was in a sense, but like, I really felt I held myself back. Yeah. I kind of feel like I held myself back. Like what's funny, Spencer, is like, if you guys were to see me at this brewery show I did, that was 60 people packed a week later, same set, I fucking crushed. I think because one show's in front of my like whole family and friends, and I get in my own head, whether you could tell or not, I might be insecure, but the next set I'll do the next show I'll do the same set, and it might hit way harder because none of them know me, and they can laugh at a blue joke, or they can laugh at something they've never heard before. So it's like, definitely the audience does play into your confidence level, your delivery, how comfortable you are. And I'm excited. Like, I am officially moving back here to LA next month. And I am excited to have that space between my family and me to start exploring like more of my, like, no one I know is in the audience. Like, the best way to perform as a comic is, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. No one I know is in the audience. I'm going to say whatever makes me laugh, whatever feels true to me. And that's the best place to be creating and performing in. But it is so hard to get to that place.
It's really hard being a comedian therapy because you have a captive audience. I'm like, should I try to work on myself or should I try to get laughs? Like, whenever I leave, I look at everyone in the waiting room and I'm like, good luck following that. I'll be back next week.
It's a scene that, if you're into it, there's a lot going on there, because like I mentioned before, it's an art, it's a whole thing. This is material, you know. Listen to Joe Rogan a little bit with like the Carlos Mencia stuff with the stealing of the jokes. Like, that's a huge thing. Has anybody ever stolen one of your jokes, or you're sitting there and you're going, holy shit, that's a little too similar to mine?
So definitely I have had similar paths of like, collective consciousness or whatever, but I don't necessarily go, oh, they stole it. I want to assume, like, I always try to assume positive intent. So I'll be like, oh, I mean, they have a joke about scoliosis, so do I. Like, a lot of girls have scoliosis. Like, sometimes it's just like,
I know, listen, she has the funniest joke about scoliosis, and I'm not trying to get her to say it, but Rob,
I'll have to see it sometime.
Oh,
I'll have to go
yeah.
to your show.
I can send you. Yeah, I just.
it's funny, dude. It's
Actually,
funny.
I could send you, Rob. Like, I did just upload a set recently, like yesterday.
We'll play it on the thing. Okay,
yeah,
so like when I
fine.
say that, we'll play it on the thing, if
Oh,
that's okay with
fun.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I had scoliosis as a kid. I guess I shouldn't have prayed for curves. My backbone's literally a question mark, so it's amazing I didn't end up with a career in politics. I feel like when God made me, he was like a cocky dad assembling IKEA furniture. Just like, I don't need the instructions. I've seen a girl before. This is the Italian model. She's supposed to be crooked.
anyways, so that's awesome.
Wait, I was curious. I had a curious question.
Sure.
When you were
Sure, go ahead.
Gee, go ahead. You see my cat back here, by the way?
Beans.
Oh, kitty.
No, that's a green screen. All that's fake, Janelle.
It's all fake back here.
That's a shitty green screen.
I know.
If it was a green screen, you at least have the Eiffel Tower or something.
No. Just a bunch of cactus.
No, I love it. You look like it's a cozy place to see cats, see plants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, wait, time out. Do you know the Reverend Bob Levy?
What?
Do you know
the Reverend Bob
stand-up
Levy?
comic.
He's a stand-up comedian. He's been in the scene for a long, long time. Very dirty stand-up guy.
Nasty man.
Eats blue cheese off of girls' butts. You haven't heard of this guy?
No.
He was on Howard Stern for years and everything. Again, you haven't listened to the darn podcast.
Okay.
But he was on here.
Oh, that's exciting. Good for you guys.
Yes. When you do, because he was on the Howard Stern show, big stud. Okay.
Yeah.
When you do these dirty jokes, somewhat dirty jokes, do you feel that people in the audience are judging you, or like the females in there, or even other female comics? Or because it's edgy, right? But then I'm thinking to myself, because I'm sitting next to my wife, I'm listening to you, I'm like, it's edgy. But then I'm like, if I heard a guy saying this stuff, would it be that edgy? Like, is it weird for you as a female to be saying these things and having people internally judge you without you noticing? But you have a general idea, right?
I love that you picked up on that, Spencer. I hope that I hope it like over time isn't as weird to hear women be blue as it is, now, because it is frustrating. Like, it's frustrating. Sometimes you'll do a show and a couple other female comics will understand it as well. And they'll also figure it out where it's happened, where like one guy will go up there and be completely filthy and people are like standing ovation, and you do same level of filth, but like with different angles, this or that. And it's like speculation, and it comes back to what I said about how I try to put the ladylike on its head. And I just don't, I want to beat it down till it's like, oh, that's just her brand. That's her vibe. Like, it's funny. It's smart. Let's challenge ourselves to see that is like a great joke. And why are we not laughing as hard as we would if it's like this big dude that came up and told it? And I think that's the feminist in me. I think it's fucked up that we have like different standards. I think it's fucked up that off the bat I go on stage and immediately everyone's like, would I fuck her? Would she fuck her? Like, they just take you in. They objectify you. They objectify you off the bat.
Piece of meat.
You're a piece of meat. Whereas a guy gets up there and it's a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Easier. So it's definitely frustrating, but I just don't think about it as much as I used to. I used to think about it a lot. And now I don't care. I stay with it. I stay like confident with it. And I get the laughs by staying confident. And I don't give a fuck if someone's judging me. Like, I just don't, I cannot give any fucks. Well, of course I do, but I just strive not to.
Are there creepy comedians? Creepy guy.
Yeah, creepy people. I mean, I have so many creepers sliding to my DMs being like, I could help you squirt. I'm like, that's not the point. It was a fucking joke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because Rob, these jokes that she's saying, like she talks about
raunchy,
everything.
Someone might say like, oh, I got a blowjob one time, like, or whatever.
Yeah, or like, let me help you with that. I'll give you 2 shots if you give me a blowjob. I'm like, that's not the point. I just ignore or like.
How often does that happen?
A lot.
So Davian, okay, the chaotic wrestling world champion of 2021.
Love it.
Told me she has fans over. I'm serious. She has fans
Middle East,
overseas and stuff like that that like are obsessed with her. That do the same thing. Like, I mean, they buy her merchandise and stuff, but they mail her stuff. They know her address. They say like dirty things. Yeah, I can't believe people actually do that.
It's gross. I mean,
like I can, but like, just it's so random.
It's such a bummer too. I do this Sirius XM show a lot called The Ron Bennington Show. It's on Raw Dog Comedy. Which is awesome, by the way. Congratulations. Yeah. Oh, thanks. It's so fun. But I always get like really supportive, loyal fans that are just cool and like my comedy and get the hustle. And then I also get a whole slew of creepers. Like I sometimes will do a show and someone will just show up and they're like, oh, I saw it on your thing. And some are nice and some aren't, and some are more like weird about it. And so I just try to take it in stride and try to take it. I try not to like get too attached to it, but like I didn't realize how fucked up it was. So I told my sister, like one guy was, many different people have said shit like, oh, would you sell me your panties or this or that? Or like, and my sister's like, that's really fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. Like, I just ignore it, but I don't. She's like, they need to respect you for the art, for the craft, for like the poetic license, to like the creative license to be able to say what you want and not be that person. Like, why do they think they can disrespect you in that way? I'm like, I don't know, but these people, I had to block so many different people. I've had to say, I've had to literally be like, if you keep crossing this line, I'm going to have to like block you. And then sometimes they like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. You're right. But you're just so hot. I can't, it's the weirdest shit. I'm like,
you're a stand-up comedian.
They come in my shows and expect I'm going to go on a date with them. Like I've had people I've never met buy tickets to shows, show up in San Diego, show up in Maine, show up in New York. And they're just there because they've heard me on the radio or they've seen my shit randomly. And they expect that I'm just going to like let loose and have a drink with them. And I'm like, and I'm really professional. I'm like, thanks for coming. Good to meet you. Gotta go. Bye. And they'll like DM me, what are you doing? And I'm like, busy. I'm busy. I'm not that girl. I'm not this loose, crazy girl you see on stage. I'm a fucking professional who wants to establish and is establishing a fan base, but I have boundaries and I'm not, you can just like, it's never the hot ones. It's never the hot ones that slide in your DMs. It's like always like, oh girl, I'll take you on a date. I'll take care of you. Whenever you're like, so many guys are like, come to Texas.
How do they think
come to Texas?
Yeah.
It's fucked up, dude. It's so fucked up. But I also feel like some are lonely or some hear me on the radio and I do get pretty vulgar on that show. It's Raw Dog. And like, I always roast the producer. It's like this gag we've had for years, right? Give them shit. And like, we do get in like sexual jokes a lot, but I don't expect you to then shoot me your own.
People think you're ready to party.
Yeah. Or tell me that you do anything to like, to I don't know. They just say the weirdest shit. It's like kind of sad, but also I'm like, well, your life is sad. So I'm just going to hold on to my pride and just like detach you from my frontal lobe. Like you're not even worth my time.
I just but I just think it's so weird because there's places for those things that people want, I'm assuming, right? Like if I'm a weird fit, like there's places to go, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Why do you have to like you see a girl on stage, a stand-up comedian, you're like, oh, I'm gonna solicit these things. It's so random, right?
I think it has to do with my act though. Like I do have a sexual act, but just because it's like, okay, if I had a car and I got hijacked, would I be like, oh, but it's my fault because I had a car? It's like, I'm allowed and empowered to have sexual jokes about my body and about how my body works. Doesn't mean you can come and like treat me disrespectfully or be entitled or feel entitled to wish me things or request things from me. It's like, grow the fuck up, but I think some of them just want the conquest of, oh, I got her on stage to like, come give me the time of day. Or maybe they think they can connect with me, or maybe they think they do know me, but really they don't know me at all. They just know a version of me on stage. It's like a small, tiny bit of what I can only imagine it's like when you have like a shit ton of followers and it happens all the time. Like I can only imagine people project a lot of stuff on you thinking they know you.
So weird.
It's so weird. And it kind of is a bummer because I think like I wish people could just be cool, like why do they have to go these creepy places? But I think
it's like a fan too. It sucks because it's like,
I had one guy constantly ask me if I'd like grab a drink with him. And I'm like, well, I'm not looking for anything romantic. He's like, well, me neither. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I've never met him before, but he just will come to shows and not even introduce himself. He'll just be like, oh, I was at that show. I'm like, well, why didn't you come say hi? Why are you just this random person telling me you were at a show, but didn't say hello? And then always ask me about the next show and when we can get a drink, but then you're not looking for anything romantic. And I'm like, it's just, people are really weird and confusing. And he'll probably listen to this. He'll probably fucking listen to this and be like, hey, I have these people that just keep resurfacing, and I try to give them kind but boundary filled like greetings. Like I don't want to be a dick. I try to be responsive when it feels like they're not being a total asshole. But like sometimes I'll be like, yo, I'm going to block you if you don't start being more respectful. Or some guys will be like, okay, tell me if I cross the line. I'm like, you've crossed the line. But these are people I've never met before. They'll just like find a hashtag or be like, I saw you on Instagram, or so-and-so posted about you, or I was at that show, but it's like, it's weird.
Yeah, what a weird thing to manage, like.
Yeah, I actually had to stop. Like, I'm actually almost at 5,000 Facebook friends. I had to stop even looking at them because I'm going to have to be able to stop accepting them, because at 5,000, you can't have any more. And hundreds and thousands, thousands of them, I don't even know who they are. They're random.
So weird. So weird. But it's really, really, really cool to know that like you have what's that like? Does that feel cool knowing that you have a fan base though, like a positive fan base? Set aside all the garbage. We're doing this. We're doing this thing. We're growing. It's just really cool to see. Like, I mean, 3 months ago we had 0, right? So it's just like, even though they're cute little numbers, is that really cool for you to like watch this grow into the thing?
And it's so cool to see you guys just going after your gut and being like, this is what we enjoy doing. And you're so passionate. And like, that is so clear and transparent to the viewer and listener that I think that's why you're doing well. Right. So I'd love to say, I feel the same with my own growth. Like for all the bad shit I just said, there's so many good experiences of someone saying, I think, it was so cool. I was this great guy, I'm blanking on his name, but he had saw me do one show and he brought a bunch of friends to see me do like the Boston Comedy Festival in Somerville, and said, I was walking to the club and he was like, oh, Janelle. And I was like, oh, hey, he's like, we're here to see you. Actually, I saw you like 2 months ago at City Winery and I'm like, oh my God, how sick. And like, cause I just posted it on Facebook. So there's like, and he's super respectful and kind. Or what I love most is when like young women are like, you spoke to me, like, I can't wait to follow you and support you. And like, I really love getting through to people, whether they're so similar to me or so different from me. That brings me the most joy. And like seeing those numbers go up and seeing people share my work is like the greatest gift. I'll never get sick of that. So I love
attention.
Right? Like I do too. I mean,
I can take it or leave
you must it, let me know. I love it so much. If I could get away.
You've always loved it. And you've always been like, I'm honestly surprised you didn't go into stand-up. Like
me too.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
Listen.
I mean, you're the biggest class clown. You were the big,
but it's like a drug in a sense where.
Oh yeah.
And to watch people, like I can kill it. I was at my brother-in-law's wedding.
Yeah,
I killed it in front of like 11 people. Right? Tell us a story. My daughter bit the dog. My daughter literally bit my dog. So I just did my thing. I did a little, something sexy. Right? Everybody's ha 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 laughing, and I'm like, oh, give me that 24/7, baby. You know?
Yeah. That
So
feeling of like, yes, I made them laugh.
not even getting paid. Just to like, that feels good. Now imagine if I get paid. I'm a dangerous guy. Okay.
Never too late, Spencer. It's never too late. I mean,
But
I
you
meant it
travel
when
all
I
over the
said,
place.
I meant it when I said I like looked up to you in high school because you were so funny, Spencer.
This is so
You
good.
really were. I mean, Rob, you were funny too, but you know, Spencer was the big ham that I just, I wanted to make him laugh. And I accomplished sometimes I didn't, but I was like, it's funny how some of the funniest people don't even do stand up. You're like, why the fuck don't you do it?
You want to know why? Because I respect it in the sense where I can naturally be funny, but when you go on stage, it is something you have to perform. It's not, I can pick up on a vibe if we're all drinking and we're having a good time and it's like we all kind of know each other and stuff like that. Get some insight, but to create a punchline and all of those things, that's really, really, really hard. And also, Rob, when I was at the show, she's doing her thing and she's just like, all right, I'm going to pull on my phone and work on some new material for you guys. And she just starts reading off the thing and telling jokes and they're funny. Right. But you're
awesome.
always having to work and always having to hustle. And I feel like it's a lot. That's a lifestyle. You're able to balance both things. But that is, can you agree that that is a lifestyle if you want to make it a full-time thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't be in this lukewarm if you want to be in it. And that's, you know, why I have prioritized this kind of over other things. Like I'm single right now. I'm not really on like the, marriage, baby, house track, but I'm like living my own version of my highest self. And it's really rewarding, but it's taken me years to realize I'm on my own path. Oh, thanks. That's sweet, Rob. But it's like,
very
you know, for a while, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm 29, I'm 30, I'm 31, 32, 30, 30 no, the eggs, what's happening to the eggs, you know, but it's like, I'm just like, you know what, this is my journey and my career is my baby and we'll see. I'm not opposed to being a mom, but I also know I want to have these things accomplished before I can settle down. So like, yeah, it's definitely a hustling lifestyle. I'm constantly perpetually exhausted and it's a lifestyle.
That's awesome though.
Now this lifestyle,
it, you know?
Yes, this lifestyle is a grind, but there's also some rewards. Please tell us who is the most famous person you have in your cell phone.
Oh yeah, we ask everybody that.
We ask everybody.
No, that's a good question.
Bill Burr.
The famous person I have in my cell phone. Like as they're texting, I'm trying to think who.
It doesn't even need to be constant contact, just their number. And then I also want to know constant contact. For the most consistent.
That's like I honestly don't even know.
See, I would have an answer. I would say nobody. I don't have anybody famous.
Yeah,
I'm truly going down the list right now to be like, who do
is
I?
Bobby Lee in there?
Bobby Lee? No. Maybe it's not as exciting. You know what's what's so funny is like a lot of the correspondences happen like on social, like on Instagram, on Facebook. But I guess Mark Norman's a good one. I've texted him recently.
You know Mark Norman,
I know
Rob.
that name. Yeah.
He's that guy. I like that dude.
Yeah,
he's funny.
He was fun. I opened for his show in San Diego.
And he got big. He opened up for Amy Schumer, right?
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's great.
You see how all this happens, Rob?
No,
you're not paying attention.
I am paying it to my cat. I can smell cat.
This is how we do it. So you know what I'm going to do now, Janelle? I'm going to go around and tell everybody I know Mark Norman. I'm just going to,
basically.
We know Mark, we know Janelle.
5 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like,
oh, hell yeah. No, I'm still going down the list to be like, did I miss someone? I'm so curious. I mean, Barry Katz is pretty legit in this world and he and I text a lot. He was Dane Cook's manager for years and years and like discovered like Chappelle and Winnie Cummings and stuff. So he's another big one. He's a big time agent, comedy manager here in Malibu. So he and I text a good amount.
So famous.
I know. You live in Malibu or?
Yeah, I'm like, over here in Dunstable, we're just.
Dunstable's great. I mean, that's the thing though. I feel like we all have our own journeys. Like I look at what you guys have and I'm like, damn, like that looks amazing. You know, you have a amazing family. You guys are like, you have this cool podcast, you know, you've got this great friendship that's lasted so many years. Like that is richness. That's wealth. That's fame. Like, that's cool. I think like this world is so superficial. You can't get attached to the fame or the celebrityism of it because it'll always disappoint you.
Tell me about it. Because I am a celebrity.
Yeah,
But-
you are. You guys are celebs. I mean, this is blowing the fuck up. Well, what's your situation, Rob? Who are you dating? Are you married to? What's your
I'm not
vibe?
married, but I live in Boston with my girlfriend Amy. Yeah.
She's very nice.
Is
She's
she
awesome.
Yes,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
a beautiful young lady. And
special?
can I talk about you for a second? Let me talk one more thing about you.
About me?
No, you, Janelle.
Oh,
Oh
good.
yeah, go for it. I'm
good.
still looking at my phone. I probably should not look at my phone anymore.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Who's the most famous person you've like talked to, you've met, being in the comedy
Oh.
world?
Okay.
Jay Leno was.
Oh, yeah, Jay Leno's
Let her answer. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, Jay Leno's a good one. Also met Lisa Kudrow.
From Friends, Phoebe.
yeah.
Thank you.
Courtney Cox.
From Friends, Monica.
Yeah. Who the fuck else? Oh, Bill. No, I haven't met Bill Burr. I have met Louis C.K. I met Sarah Silverman. I met who the fuck else? Whitney Cummings, Chelsea Handler,
Nice.
Jane Cook. Yeah, those are probably some good ones.
So I'm not going to make you say who unless you want to, but out of that whole group, was there somebody that kind of sucked that was like a jerk? If you want to say it, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have
They're
to.
probably never going to see this, but that's okay.
No, I mean, I wouldn't
might.
say I wouldn't say they sucked. I'd say like at the time saying hello to someone when they're like in the middle of a conversation was like, they're kind of like, oh, hi, like a little bit turned off by,
Mhm.
I worked the Golden Globes one year, like long time ago for NBC. And that's when I got to meet Lisa and I was so excited because I had like looked up to her and
Don't
she was
do
kind of
this.
like, hi, like it was a little bit like, ooh, shouldn't have went up and said hey to her because she seemed like she was I interrupted her and she made it clear I was interrupting her and her conversation. I just was like, I'm a big fan. I was in my little stupid little page uniform. I was like,
Oh no.
and she was just like, okay, like
Hi.
keep moving. And I was like,
Yeah.
but you know what? Looking back, it's like, they're just fucking humans having
Yes.
a day like anyone else. Like who to say, I'm sure I'd have a bad day. Like, you know, so I don't want to hold that against her, but that was like a less than fun encounter. But other ones have been like great, I think.
So you're in this world. I mean, you're in the whole scene. You're in the comedy world. You're in like, I guess I would call it like the corporate world or something.
Yeah.
It's
No, truly in both worlds. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're right where you want to be in the sense of you found your passion, right? Even if it's not, you don't know if it's the corporate part of it's like, I mean, you're in a win-win situation, you know, whatever works out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that the passion and I know that what will work out is the comedy. It's just a matter of when will that be my main focus
Right.
and when will I decide to, but truly it's nice to have like a secure, stable paycheck and benefits and all that. Like, I'm not trying to be someone that doesn't also appreciate like a planning side of myself or a business side of myself. Like I always was someone that like could easily dial into creative, but also business side. So I'm never going to just like not care about the business side of it. Like always thinking of ideas I can pitch, like shows I can develop. Like I'm always constantly in the world of creating while also doing performative stuff.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Great.
I don't know how you're so
Biggest
humble.
hype man. You're like my biggest hype man. You guys
Well,
are
I
like
don't know
making
how
me
you-
feel so good.
But this is listen, I don't know how you're so humble. Me, oh my God.
He was
Even
in
just
your
now.
shoes.
Even
Yeah.
just now, I treat people like garbage because I'm like, I have a podcast. You know what I mean? So I could even my guy. So I can just. It's amazing. You know, even if in my opinion, even if everything stopped today, you have a pretty cool story about your journey thus far. So you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to report I've gotten my vaccine shot. I'm a hero. Honestly, first time ever I got 2 free shots and someone didn't ask me for a blowjob. Thank you guys, you've been amazing. I've been Janelle Draper.
This means a lot to me. And I think I want to always be really humble because I know I've been in it for so long that I know, like I keep saying, I've come a long way, but there's a lot more to come. So I just want to continue to stay really mindful and really grateful. Like this means a lot to me. I couldn't wait to chat with you guys and you guys help me put things in perspective. Sometimes it's easy to get jaded and the day-to-day grind is just like, whatever. I have to pinch myself sometimes and go, I'm living my dream.
Yeah.
Like, even if it did end, I fucking gave it my all. but it's a slippery slope of like wanting. You get this thing. What's the next? It's like, you got to check yourself. You got to check yourself always. So it's a big psychological battle as well.
Wow. Rob, do you have anything else?
I don't know. It's been great. It's crazy.
Did we cover it?
I think for you.
We covered every topic, folks.
I think we had a nice conversation, and it's great to just see in the mind of a comic, but also someone we grew up with, and it's awesome. And I'm happy to see you doing well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. I have nothing but love for you both. I mean, you guys are such great guys, and honestly, it just makes me want to hit you up more when I'm home. Like, we
absolutely
should grab a drink and
get a beer. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I love to hear how well, Rob, you're doing with your girlfriend, and you're in Boston, and Spencer, I got to meet your wife. It's really so special to see you guys like flourish into these like amazing men, because not everyone in our grade got to do that, but you guys really did. You guys really you walk the walk, and it's like, it's cool. Like, I'm proud that we're we're fellow Lion alumni friends. Like, I love to think we had these crazy times in high school, and
keep going.
We can come back and catch up. It's no time's gone.
I want to say to you, yes, absolutely. But I have one last question. And for some reason, Rob likes to cut this part out, but we have a question for you.
Go, lay it on me.
You like grilling?
Grilling? Yeah. I guess. I like to eat. I don't like to grill.
Do you like grilling accessories? Do you like seasonings?
Yeah, I love seasonings.
Would you like a one-stop shop to find all of that stuff?
Sure.
Do you know, if you log on to www.grillyourassoff.com, and you buy all your stuff, and I mean anything you want, grilling accessories, if you buy any of those things, at the checkout, you go to the promo code and you type in Reality Tonic. Okay, you with me?
Yeah.
That's us now. You type in Reality Tonic, you can save yourself 15% off your order.
That's
okay?
Incredible.
It is incredible, and it sounds too good to be true, but guess what? You can continuously do it. Okay? You can just go get your 15%, and then a couple days later be like, I ran out of whatever. Boom. Reality Tonic, 15% off. So please, if you are ready to kickstart your summer, log on to www.
Okay.
We always have a hard time getting through the business end,
All
right. That's great. You guys have a sponsor. That's incredible.
They sell flipper things.
Yeah, spatulas.
You go buy one for my dad. That'll be nice. Father's Day gift. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
This was great.
Wake up to reality,